Arrival dates of a fourth stimulus check in the event Congress adds one into the stimulus package they are currently working on. Let's get into it and talk through all this information. But if you haven't done so yet, or if you happen to be new here, make sure to hit the subscribe button right down below the video, as I'm here for you each and every day with all the latest updates during this time that information is changing very rapidly. So again, thank you so much for joining me. Subscribe down below, and let's get into this right away. All right, so this is a question that continues to come up every single day down in the comments section, and it's usually worded in a variety of different ways, including, when will it arrive? When will we get it? Will we get it this year? Will we get it in December? Will we get it before Christmas? And a variety of other ways. So I want to lay this out for you right here, right now, in regards to the stimulus package and a potential fourth stimulus check in the event Congress actually adds one into this package that they're currently working on. Now, here's the thing. Every single week that goes by that Congress does not pass the stimulus package, that just means it's pushing out the timeline even more. So let's go through all this information with whatever we have on hand right here, right now in regards to the stimulus package, and let's lay out some potential timelines as far as when a stimulus check could actually arrive in the event they actually do add one into the package. Now, here's the thing. Of course, I have to say this. I've already said it a few times, but I want to say it once again so that there's no misunderstanding. As of this time, right here, right now, a fourth stimulus check has not been added into the package. However, Congress will be picking up this package, and between now and Christmas, they want to get this thing fully passed. That is what Chuck Schumer has said, and over the next couple weeks here, they'll be working on this thing diligently to get it fully passed. At any time throughout this process, now that the package is in the Senate, they could add a stimulus check. It's just literally a matter of any senator stepping up and saying, we need to have a stimulus check, and then writing the legislation in, which would not be that hard to do. I mean, I could literally write it. You could write it. Anybody could write this stuff. It would be so simple for them to do. It would literally take not that much effort. So my point is, it's super easy for Congress to do this. But let's lay out a potential timeline, because every week that goes by that they don't get this thing passed, it's pushing out that timeline. Now, here's the thing. Let's assume a worst case scenario just for laying out this timeline. And the reason that I say that is because if we say it's going to be passed this week, well then, it's setting up for kind of an unrealistic expectation. However, let's expect the worst case scenario based on what Chuck Schumer has said. And if for some reason it happens earlier than that, then great. I guess it just happens earlier than that. But let's base it off of what Chuck Schumer has said. And he has said they're going to get this package fully passed by Christmas. All right, so with that being said, let's lay out these timelines and kind of see what we're looking at. So this year in 2021, Christmas happens to land on a Saturday, December 25th, obviously, right? So that means they're probably not going to be working on Christmas Day. I highly doubt it. There's just no possible way that they're going to, right? So let's anticipate worst case scenario, they get this package passed late in the day on Friday, December 24th, right? The day before Christmas. Let's just anticipate worst case scenario, that is the day that they get this package passed. If they do actually add a fourth stimulus check into the package, and it actually passes the day of Friday, December 24th. Again, we're just kind of laying this all out, anticipating worst case scenario based on what has been said to us. All right, so if they pass it then, let's quickly look back in history based on the last three stimulus packages that contained stimulus checks and see how long it took them to distribute checks. Now, I'm going to run through these relatively quickly. We've talked about this before, and we've all lived through it, so we already have a pretty good idea of what actually happened. So, stimulus package number one, way back in March of 2020. That one took them 2 weeks to distribute the first payments after the package was signed into law. It was actually a little bit over 2 weeks, but we're just going to call it 2 weeks. It was actually like 2 weeks and like 3 days, but okay, we're just going to call it 2 weeks. All right. Stimulus check number two, about a year ago, in late 2020, in late 2020, in late December 2020, that package was signed and the first check started hitting bank accounts literally about 48 hours later. But that was the first kind of little trickle of checks, but the big wave went out 1 week later. So we're going to call it 7 days later, the first big wave of checks went out. Now, stimulus package number 3, or I should call it stimulus check number 3, that was passed in March of this year, and it was signed into law on March 11th of this year. The first big wave of payments went out 1 week later on March 17th. So it technically wasn't even a week later, but we're going to call it 1 week. All right, so here's what we know. Stimulus check number 1, 2 weeks. Check number 2 and check number 3, we're going to call it 1 week, 7 days, we're going to call it. All right, so with that being said, let's lay out some timelines now. All right, so let's just say this package is signed into law by the president on December 24th, 2021. If that's the case, we could potentially see a first wave of payments going out as soon as 1 week later, which would actually be New Year's Eve, right? December 31st would be the absolute earliest that we could base this on based on our timelines. However, considering the December 31st being New Year's Eve, things like that, can we really anticipate them sending them out that quickly? Maybe, but we would probably anticipate, I would probably push it out until a few days later, which would actually bring us out to January 3rd, which would actually be the first Monday in January of 2022. Now again, this is anticipating that they're on their game, they have everything lined up, they have all the information, and all they have to do is literally push a couple buttons and boom, they're going out the door, right? Now, all of this is anticipating that the bill is actually signed into law on December 24th, and it actually does contain that fourth stimulus check, right? So we still have a lot of moving parts here, but at any given point here, now that the package is in the Senate, literally, this could be added in at any given point, right? So it wouldn't be that difficult for them to do. Now, let's just lay out another scenario here. Again, going back to December 24th being the day that it is signed into law. If it is signed that day, let's just look at the other scenario based on stimulus check number 1, where it took about 2 weeks and 3 days for the first payments to actually start going out. That would actually put us at January 7th, which would actually be the first Friday in January of 2022. That would technically be 2 weeks after the hypothetical signing date that I'm kind of laying out here in this video, just to get a better idea of where we're actually sitting with this thing, right? However, one more thing we have to recognize, and many of you in this community totally know this because we all lived through it once again. This last stimulus check that we received back in, well, it was signed into law March 11th of 2021. Unfortunately, we remember that whole delay for about 3 weeks there, almost a month straight. We were all up in the air when it comes to low-income beneficiaries, especially those people receiving Social Security, retirement, disability, SSDI, survivors, SSI, VA, and RRB. Remember that whole ordeal? Well, for about 3.5 weeks there, let's just give them the benefit of the doubt. For about 3 weeks there, we were sitting with no information, essentially, as far as when these payments would actually be distributed. Remember that? I was calling the IRS multiple times a week. I was doing all kinds of things, researching, and we were getting no answers on this. I called Social Security. We were trying to figure out what was actually going on with this, and ultimately, a couple weeks in, we found out that Social Security hadn't sent over the files to the IRS quite yet. So, in the event a situation like that were to occur again, I don't anticipate that would happen again because that was just a one-off situation. We didn't have those problems the first time around. We didn't have the problem the second time around. For some weird reason, it happened third time around. But in the event something like that were to happen once again, let's lay out a quick timeline on that just to kind of see where would we be sitting. Okay, so the 1 week later after the potential hypothetical signing of the bill that I'm laying out here, December 24th would be the New Year's Eve, December 31st, right? So that's 1 week later. 2 weeks later would be January 7th, the first Friday of January 2022. Now let's add on a few more days here, another week, to account for the mistakes that were made earlier this year, which would be one more week out, January 14th, which would be the following Friday. And if we add on a couple more days, because that's what happened back in March/April of this year, we can add on a few more days and anticipate possibly the following Monday in January, which would be, January 17th would be there. So that'd be about 3.5 weeks later in the event this weird situation happens again, which I can't anticipate that would happen again because that was just kind of those one-off situations that we experienced earlier this year in March and early into April of 2021. So for those of you that have been asking down in the comment section, here's what we've got as far as a potential timeline in the event the package is actually passed and signed into law on December 24th, 2021. As Chuck Schumer has said, they want to get this thing fully passed by Christmas. This would also anticipate a fourth stimulus check is also added into the package, which once again, we'll have to watch that very closely, as anything could possibly happen right now as the bill sits in the Senate and they continue to negotiate their way through this package. Now, one more thing I want to mention. Just the other day, I brought you out a video and I talked about the state of Illinois issuing new stimulus checks, or what I should say is more like announcing these new stimulus checks just ahead of the holidays for all of their residents earning under $75,000 as an individual or $150,000 as a married couple. So, kind of interesting how that whole thing's playing out, right? In the state of Illinois. So, with that whole announcement out of Illinois, it gives us a little bit of hope that maybe Congress will see this and think, Illinois, they're up to something. They're sending out a little bit of money to help people out during this time just before the holidays. Nice concept. I don't know about you, but it sounds pretty good to me. Even the stimulus checks out of Illinois are only $200 for individuals and $400 for a married couple. You know what? Certainly better than nothing right now, right? Even though we would need significantly more than that, which would be very helpful, even $200 or even $400 would probably make a lot of people pretty happy right now, even though it would be far less than what is actually required, right, to help us out during this time. But either way, it gives us a little glimmer of hope that maybe Congress will jump on this and follow in the footsteps of Illinois and issue some additional relief for the lowest income and fixed income Americans right now who are struggling so much. So again, I hope this lays it out for those of you that have been asking down in the comment section. Again, if Congress continues to delay and we push this thing out one more week, well then again, we need to adjust the timelines, because every week that goes by that they don't have this thing passed, we need to adjust the timelines accordingly, right? So I hope that makes sense. So again, leave your comments and questions down below. I'll continue doing everything I possibly can to help you out during this time, to answer your questions, to be here for you as your one and only daily advocate. And I'll continue doing all this research and bringing you all the updates as we get them. So I hope you have a nice day. Subscribe down below. Share this video with your friends, family, social media. Go back and check out some of the other videos right here on the channel, as I have almost 2,000 videos right here for you. Enjoy your day. I'll catch you again later, and I hope this one helps you out and answers some of your questions. Thanks again.